you to please put your lanyards and badge in the appropriate basket out front somewhere, I think. Don't take them home with you and you'll get entered for a drawing. And then if you haven't finished your bingo card, finish that.
Remember, we were going to make the Florida thing a free space.
Oh, yes. The Florida question, the ever popular "Are you a Florida fan?" question, one question, is now considered, if you play Monopoly, it's free space, so sign some name.
Free grandchildren. No. There's people have free grandchildren. And just so you know, it's not only 3 grandchildren. So if you have 7 grandchildren, you do have 3. Oh. You have 3 if you have 7.
Karen has a presentation, a drawing, I guess, and then she'll introduce our next speaker.
All right. Start with a thermostat that was donated by Train.
A thermostat?
Yes.
Man, put my number back. Can I turn it up and make it hotter in here? Does it work in here?
I did ask them to turn the temperature up a little.
Number 855.
Don't worry, I'll give it to you. I say after I don't win. I'll give my fudge back and trade you. Trade a fudge. I see what it is in my she might have come back.
The pressure.
Yes.
No women?
Yep, move on.
There we go, Sean. Woo.
We have an ETPA bag with fudge and I think it's never being called last night at the cornhole tournament, a crying foul.
I want that.
What's your number? I'm just kidding. 839.
Well, that's not it. Yay, whoever. People are not getting excited about these games, are they? Gotta wait them back up.
If you win, it's your, you lose.
Okay, then the last one for now is an official Yeti donated by Vendor Registry.
Nice. They should have gave those to their favorite customers, though.
Number 835.
Oh, I so owe you. That's cheating. That's not what I meant. That is so not what I meant. Oh, that's embedded in my brain. That's going to echo.
Okay. Our next speaker is Daniel Leeson. Leeson. Got ahead of myself. Sourcing Specialist Team Lead with the State of Tennessee Central Procurement Office. He was actually willing to stay last night, even though he was partnered with a really, really bad cornhole partner. He started with the State of Tennessee Central Procurement Office in 2013 as a sourcing analyst, has moved up through the years, and is currently promoted to team lead, lead a team of sourcing account specialists and strategic sourcing methods for the purpose of providing quality products and services in the state, and received his degree in finance and economics from ETSU, and is working on his MBA at MTSU. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you, Karen. I will say, when I first got asked to come here, I asked Terry, when am I going to be presenting? And he told me after lunch. And I had to negotiate. And I was like, well, people are going to be tired. So tell you what, Terry, I'll do this if you could just crank the AC up as much as I
Keep them awake.
I also negotiated some popsicles for you all during the course of this, but apparently I guess we couldn't make that a reality.
They're popsicles.
On a serious note, I really do appreciate you all having me come and talk on behalf of the Central Procurement Office. One of the things Terry wanted me to go over is something that we had you all do for those of you who attended our one-day seminar in Nashville. Each of you that were on the panel explained your office structure. What we found out was you all are all unique snowflakes. Everybody's a little bit different. Some of you wear more hats than others, some bigger offices, smaller offices. So Terry said, hey, maybe really informative for us to gain an understanding of your office structure, which was a really good point. And so I kind of talked to my office about it and asked, what can we do? Should I just get up there and talk about office structure? And they said, no, let's have fun with it. Let's make a video. Well, it was pretty short notice, and we did make a video, and we may have had too much fun with it. I quickly realized just how many Star Wars fans we had in our office when we were coming up with ideas for how to go about explaining our office structure. So before I actually present, this is like a 15-minute video that kind of outlines our office structure. So I hope you all enjoy it.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the state of Tennessee AGS Central Procurement Office was formed. Well, maybe not that long ago, and maybe not quite so dramatic. Procurement wars. The state of Tennessee transformed its procurement processes by creating a central organization to manage procurement and statewide contracts and to assist agencies in meeting their procurement needs. This division is overseen by a chief procurement officer tasked with protecting the procurement universe. General Master Mike Perry leads his managed procurement case, aided by his trusted deputy and legal Jedi Shannon Howard. Together, they and their teams ensure that procurement chaos does not spread throughout the known physical universe.
The legal team is comprised of a legal assistant and attorneys who are responsible for the review of contracts and legal documents, risk and grant management, legal advice, and dispute resolution. The legal team also reviews RFPs, ITBs, and responds to any issues during the procurement process for CPO. The rules and regulations of the galaxy and Jedi mind control is not involved. They promise. There is no end to the contracts the legal team has under their oversight, thanks especially to two groups, sourcing and category. In fact, CPO sources, oversees, and provides legal advice for nearly as many contracts as there are star systems in the galaxy. Currently, CPO's oversight extends over 458 statewide contracts, representing 129 categories of goods and services, 432 agency term contracts, each valued at over $50,000 and worth a total of $357,150,025.59, and 4,907 active grant contracts valued at $9,930,720,342. How did the state build such a vast fiscal federation? Droids and drones weren't enough. Teams of expert Jedis were dispatched to divide and conquer, which brings us to...
The sourcing team serves as subject matter experts on procurement policy, process, and strategy for state agencies. Sourcing analysts and specialists work with agencies on solicitations over $50,000 and are trained in a variety of procurement methodologies, such as RFPs, RFQs, ITBs, and competitive negotiations. Sourcing also serves as a lead negotiators in conjunction with the CPO legal team for agency term contracts for cost and term-related negotiations. As of this year, sourcing has been able to use these tools to save $423 million, as well as $81 million in rebates. Our baseline value of contracts is $3.2 billion. Sourcing always looks for ways to improve efficiency and consistency on the teams. As part of CPO's current end-to-end process improvement initiative, sourcing is working to document and standardize many of the key processes that the sourcing teams work on. Not all contracts are specific to agencies. Some are developed to be used by multiple agencies.
The category team is responsible for procuring and managing statewide contracts. Those contracts provide goods and services to multiple state agencies and other authorized users, such as the local governments and higher education. Category's role as solicitation coordinators involves preparing and finalizing the solicitation documents, conducting pre-response conferences, overseeing the evaluation of supplier responses, and serving as the lead negotiators in conjunction with the CPO legal team. Category is comprised of 3 teams: technology, services, and commodities. As part of CPO's current end-to-end process improvement initiative, Category is working to increase CPO engagement with local government and higher education users of statewide contracts and to improve contract supplier onboarding and training process. Our procurement Jedis have many tools besides the force at their disposal for establishing the contract that holds our fiscal federation together. They include procurement methods like informal solicitation for purchases with a spend threshold of less than $50,000, which allows for informal written, verbal, or telephone quote. Invitations to bid, a procurement method where a contract is awarded to one or more bidders who provided the lowest qualified bid in a sourcing event. Requests for proposals utilize a solicitation for written proposals to provide goods or services to the state. This is most useful when price is not the only factor in the decision and where the capability and qualifications of the bidder and the quality of their proposal affect the overall value of the bid. Requests for qualifications, generally part of the RFP process, are solicitations containing a list of qualifications that must be met before a supplier may propose in response to an RFP. Note that in some cases, a supplier may be awarded a contract directly from an RFQ. Competitive negotiations may occur when it is in the best interest of the state to competitively negotiate a contract. The state's policies provide for the safeguarding of the information and provide fairness to the suppliers in the negotiation process. An emergency purchase may be utilized to address a serious and unexpected situation that poses an immediate risk to health, life, property, or environment, which calls an agency to action. This expedited method allows the state to secure the necessary goods or services to carry out an emergency response. Sole source is a procurement method for occasions when only one supplier possesses the unique and singularly available capability to meet the requirements of the solicitation. Proprietary procurements are similar in that only one brand or item meets the requirement of the solicitation, but where there are a number of authorized suppliers. Reverse auctions are competitive real-time internet procurements that allow purchase orders and contracts to be awarded to the respondent or responders offering the lowest price. Requests for information are solicitations sent to a broad base of potential suppliers for the purpose of developing strategy, building a database, or preparing for a request for proposal or a request for qualifications. Collaborative value developments are an interactive, allowing the state to utilize the expertise and knowledge of suppliers qualified through an RFQ to develop a solicitation that will award a contract to the supplier that receives the highest score. While our procurement Jedis may have other tools rooted deep in the mysteries of the force, these methods are the ones responsible for establishing the vast majority of the state's contracts.
But it takes more than contracts to run procurement balance. And for this, the chief has numerous bands of support teams roving the known universe.
The commercial card team oversees the corporate travel and purchasing card programs. Our customers include all 49 statewide agencies and approximately 2,000 cardholders. Recently, the team has overseen the implementation of a new card services provider, which is nearing completion. The team ensures agencies are able to utilize their payment cards to purchase mission-critical goods and services in an efficient and timely manner. Their duties include managing the state's card systems, collaborating with the bank to ensure controls and visibility are in compliance with the state's contract, policies and procedures, and that our customers' needs are met, analyzing transactional data, the needs of agencies and trends of the marketplace and providing policy recommendations, providing consultation, training, and interpretation of policies for agencies and business partners, guiding agencies toward program compliance and toward implementing best practices, reconciling purchases and providing support for individual cardholder accounts and agency purchase card coordinators, making strategic recommendations that streamline our operations.
It takes all kinds to make the galaxy run smoothly, and the Governor's Office of Diversity Business Enterprise is here to make sure that everyone has a chance to bring what they have to the table.
April Backlash, Association Procurement Office.
The Governor's Office of Diversity Business Enterprise, GoDBE, is the central point of contact to attract and assist minority-owned, women-owned, persons with disabilities-owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned, and small business enterprises interested in competing in state of Tennessee procurement and contracting activities. Our primary role is to assist executive branch agencies throughout the state, including UT and the Tennessee Board of Regents, with achieving their agency internal goals for the utilization of small businesses. Each agency has set or established an agency internal goal for the participation of these various business sectors. Over 1,700 certified businesses have been included in the pool of diversity business enterprises, to which billions of dollars have been awarded during the last 12 years. 25 out of 30 state agencies and departments are achieving their goals for the utilization of diversity-owned businesses. These businesses are impacting their communities across the state by expanding their operations, hiring employees, and generating dollars in the local communities.
We all know how inconvenient it can be to be unable to find the right code. You know, the one standing between you and that upgraded fusion thrust engine or a new fax machine. Situations like this are where the Elite Systems Management team steps in.
The CPO is the business process owner for procurement. The systems team works with Edison to ensure the system works in accordance with the rules of the CPO, as well as existing and new legislation. This team maintains the Edison item master, adding or modifying item IDs as needed, as well as support and advise our agency customers in other ways, such as troubleshooting problems with requisitions, POs, sourcing events, and contracts. They also create and modify queries and provide data for public records requests. They also participate in the Edison Functionality User Group to ensure best practices are instituted and to increase efficiencies. Also, in advance of Edison upgrades, the team tests procurement functions to assure smooth transitions. The systems team also provides support to the Governor's Office of Diversity Business Enterprise, preparing data for GoDBE to upload into their system each month and working with Edison and GoDBE to streamline supplier onboarding. They are also a primary support for Tennessee Smart Shop. They engage local governments and municipalities to encourage use of statewide contracts for increased spend and improved negotiation leverage, and maintain Tennessee Smart Shop in Edison and on its website for local users. Speaking of websites, The systems team also maintains the CPO internet site. This is definitely the team you want aboard to keep your ship space worthy.
Sometimes, despite our best efforts, the galaxy's frontiers fall into disarray, and it is the job of the compliance team to identify where the boundaries are weak and contribute to empowering their defenses against the dark side with an infusion of the Force.
The procurement compliance team produces compliance reviews based on procurement laws, policies, and procedures, as well as established agency procurement performance benchmarks. Since July 2017, 18 statewide contracts, encompassing a total of 49 individual contracts, have been reviewed, and each agency's delegated authority procurements are reviewed biannually. Compliance also works closely with the learning and development team to provide agencies with the necessary materials to keep their procurement professionals up to date with current procurement procedures and policies.
The Central Procurement Office's Learning and Development Team, which is charged with training all young Jedi procurement professionals in the ways of the light side of the Force, has promulgated in the Procurement Procedures Manual of the State of Tennessee in its infinite wisdom.
The Learning and Development team develops and facilitates course material for procurement certification, as well as customized training to agencies. They also work closely with other CPO teams to develop job aids, webinars, and other learning and development opportunities as needed. Learning and Development also assists DOHR in facilitating the pyramid of learning to DGS staff. Since July 2017, Learning and Development has had 829 people attend class, and 74 individuals completed and were awarded basic procurement certification. 2 courses have been converted to online delivery, while the team continues to offer various classroom trainings each month.
Not even the universe's greatest Jedis can do it all on their own. Without the aid of a whole cast of supporting characters like R2-D2, without whom Luke, Princess Leia, Han Solo, and Chewbacca would all have died in a trash compactor on the Death Star. Likewise, the Jedis of the CPO depend on the tireless work of the administrative support team to succeed at their procurement efforts, both great and small.
When it comes to the day-to-day work of the CPO, one group more than any other stands on the front lines to greet and assist customers and to make sure their needs are met with the greatest customer service: the administrative support team. Thanks to their diligent work on behalf of our customers and the tireless efforts of the CPO teams, customer satisfaction has never been higher. Since the CPO implemented its new survey in January of 2018, 96% of the respondents have reported that they were extremely satisfied with their interactions with its staff.
How far we've come. From a stone age of dusty storage rooms and paper-littered processes, bulky computers, and hand-delivered bids, the CPO has ushered in a procurement space age, revolutionizing state procurement and ensuring that Tennesseans receive the goods and services they deserve at fiscally sound prices. CPO, where will we go from here?
Procurement wars. May the Force be with you.
So as you can see, we probably had a little too much fun with that. I know my mother would be disappointed. She's a huge Star Trek fan, and she would be upset to know that I condone this behavior. We'll move on, though, and actually get to my part of the presentation. So Terry had also asked us to come and kind of talk about what's new in state procurement and statewide contracts, and he also wanted a little bit of a refresher because some of you may be new or looking to get into procurement and not currently in that role. I'm going to try to do my best with this clicker. I saw some difficulties with it earlier.
Yes, it has issues.
Or maybe I should just give you a cue. There we go.
That so works.
I feel TED Talk style, you know, with the screen behind me over here. So the agenda for today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about statewide contracts 101, 6 benefits of using statewide contracts. who manages the statewide contracts, which you just heard a little bit about, and how to access them and navigate through the CPO website. And here's one more short video. This one's only 2.5 minutes. A popsicle should be here any second.
Does this look like you? Handling procurements is a great way to serve an agency or organization, but sometimes that work creates a lot of pressure. Everybody wants the best product or service, they want the best price, and they want you to get it for them right now. What if I told you there was a quick and easy source for help? Statewide contracts may be the answer for you. Statewide contracts are contracts for goods or services secured by the state of Tennessee for use by state agencies. But these carefully negotiated and cost-effective contracts can also be used by local governments, higher education institutions, and qualified not-for-profit organizations. There are almost 150 statewide contracts you can use to buy the goods, services, and technology you need. Imagine all the purchasing it takes to run an organization as large as Tennessee state government. Those same contracts can be available to you and at the same price paid by the state. So how does this help you? Competitive pricing and economies of scale mean you can harness the power of statewide contracts to lower the prices you pay. Statewide contracts are competitively procured, meaning you can use them without doing your own time-consuming advertising and soliciting. Spending less time on procurements frees up your personnel to work on other tasks and priorities, thus reducing your administrative costs. Statewide contracts are developed, evaluated, and managed by Tennessee's own subject matter experts and procurement professionals, assuring that you have access to carefully screened goods and services from dependable suppliers. And Tennessee's successful program for attracting and assisting small businesses and businesses owned by minorities, women, service-disabled veterans, and persons with disabilities means that statewide contracts nurture diverse suppliers and encourage local businesses. More than 140 local entities in Tennessee are currently using statewide contracts. By doing so, they are capitalizing on the state's procurement expertise and experience. They are lowering the prices they pay for goods and services. And if they have any questions or comments about the contracts they are using, they can contact the supplier directly, or one of the state's experienced contract managers is just a phone call or an email away. In short, what can statewide contracts offer? How about less work for you, lower prices for your organization, and equal or better value for your customers? Plus, they're quick and easy to use. Find out more about statewide contracts and how you, your agency, and your customers can benefit.
So just to let everybody know, I'm going to be giving this PowerPoint to Terry, who are you going to be posting? I think I heard there's potential of posting it to the website. So just know there's going to be some links embedded within this. You will have access to that at a later date. So what is a statewide contract? It's a contract for goods or services established by our office, and it's available to all agencies and authorized users. Quick note, not all of them are necessarily available. Some of them are restricted to specific departments or to a couple departments. But the vast majority are available to the locals. We have 3 separate teams, as you all heard. There's the commodities team. They currently have 54 contracts, office supplies, medical supplies, vehicles. And then there's the technology team. They currently have 47. As you can imagine, it's computers, tablets, servers, storage, GPS tracking, and whatnot. And then we also have our services team, which package delivery, HVAC, electrical, mailing equipment, and so on and so forth. So who can use statewide contracts? We actually have 4 Tennessee or TCAs that dictate who can use it. The first of which is state government, department and agencies, courts, legislature, commissions, and boards. The next being local governments, counties, municipalities, school districts, quasi-governmental organizations, higher education, there's universities, TN private nonprofit universities, and then qualified nonprofits, which is a specific niche that fall under the 501c3 organizations contracting. So the benefits, there are 6 big benefits that we identified, and these are benefits that are similar to using a cooperative, similar to using a statewide contract. These are the same kind of benefits that we walk through in our head when we're looking at cooperatives, similar to you all when you're looking at cooperatives or a statewide contract. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to go through a lengthy procurement process. It frees up your time. You get the benefit of the leverage pricing. We have a lot of resources that we put towards it, so you can assume or hope that it is of quality. We manage the contracts and can assist with the issues that you all may be facing with the vendors, and you have access to diverse and dependable suppliers. So as I just said, don't have to reinvent the wheel. I think we can all agree that it is a beautiful thing when you can piggyback off of someone else's contract. They've already put it in place. You're just going to be using it. Gotta love the slideshow animations. You can go on to the, okay. The next, don't have to go through a lengthy procurement process. What I found out with the panel especially is you all have very different office structures, and some of you all wear multiple hats. And so I can imagine time is pretty precious to each and every one of you. So the reality is by using a statewide contract, you're able to be more efficient with your time. The third benefit from competitive pricing due to leveraged volume, essentially all of our departments are telling us what their estimated volume as far as what they're going to be purchasing off of our contracts is. And so when we compile that and bid it out, we're getting a discounted price based on that bulk volume. Procurement experts, legal and subject matter experts developing contracts. As I said, we have a lot of resources, and I know a lot of time is put into creating these statewide contracts and getting it right. What I noticed they didn't put on there, what I would like to see on there, maybe next year whenever somebody from CPO comes back, is the locals. I think that's one area that's been a big blind spot for the Central Procurement Office. And I think it would be great if we could have more collaboration with you all whenever we're developing those statewide contracts. And here in a little bit, I'll talk about how you can go about having your voice heard. Number 5, CPO manages the contracts and can assist with questions and issues. I think Matt Myers had an awesome example that he shared with everybody. But essentially, if you've got a vendor and you're just struggling with them, you can always call us and let us do that so you can get back to doing whatever else it is you need to do. We can handle those issues and get it addressed on your behalf. And if it's bad enough, we may just remove them from the statewide contract completely, which is, I think, what happened in your scenario. Access to diverse and dependable suppliers. So we have 36 GoDBE certified suppliers on statewide contract. We have 176 suppliers on statewide contract within Tennessee locations. Obviously, we would like to see this number higher. I will say some of the local offices have done a really good job about, I get it, you all have local suppliers that you're trying to do business with. And on the state level, we're the exact same way. We are doing our best to try to give back to the great state of Tennessee. And what I've seen some of your offices do is suggest these suppliers in your area to throw their name in the hat. The reality is a lot of these solicitations that we bid out, some of them are RFQs where it's a continual compete. So they could get qualified on the front end and then they're in it. And it's a matter of whether or not they have the pricing to get the contract. There's also scenarios where, okay, yeah, that's fine, we'll go to the next one. Who procures and manages these contracts upon award? So contracts for goods or services available to all state agencies and authorized users. As I mentioned earlier, they're procured and managed by the contract management team. It consists of 3 teams. Each team has 5 individuals and they have 1 team lead. So why do we have 3 teams? There was a lot of discussion about whether or not we should have 3 teams or just have 1 big category team. From a strategic standpoint, they thought it would make more sense to split it up into 3 categories: commodities, services, and then the IT. But the reality is these individuals don't necessarily work in silos. There's a lot of information such as best practices or lessons learned that are transferable between the three teams. And so they're constantly collaborating with one another to ensure that they're doing the best they can with the contracts they have. They're led by Trey Norris, who is he's the assistant director of the category management team, and then the director is Paul Krivaka. However, he's also our lead attorney, so his focus is a little bit more on the legal team, and he entrusts Trey to kind of manage those three statewide teams. The first statewide team that I mentioned was category management. So obviously they're the services team, and they manage service-related contracts. Joy Brassfield is the team lead. And right now she has Parker, Jordan, Kayla, Lanessa, and Jessica on that team. Some of those names you may be familiar with. The commodities team is led by Tony Bybee. As you can imagine, it's for commodity contracts such as office supplies and vehicles. Lindsay Latner, Mike Neely, Devin Wallace, Maggie Wilson, and we just got an opening. Just throwing it out there. If anybody's interested in moving to an expensive place with a lot of traffic, we have a place for you. The technology team is led by Josh Gaddy, as one would imagine. They handle all the technology-related contracts. Lauren, Richard, Michael, Stephanie, and a new hire, Simeon, is on that team. So, since I don't have the computer in front of me, I'm not going to be clicking through things, but like I said, this will be available to you all after my presentation. It'll be posted on the website, but we have a couple links. One is our directory, and another one is our org chart if you just want to see exactly who reports to who. Now, I will say something unique about the directory. I may be jumping ahead. Go to the next slide. Thank you. This is our directory, something new they added based on feedback from the departments, and I think a couple of the locals had touched on it whenever they were in our offices. We now have this statewide contract administrators. So in the past, we've heard from people, we're having to click 10 times just to find out who's the contract administrator of one of your contracts. It'd be nice if we could just click one button, see the statewide contract number, the name, and who the contact is. So whenever you click that now, it essentially pulls a spreadsheet that shows that high level information. Something I would like to see added to it, and feel free to put this in your feedback to cpo.swc@tn.gov, is vendors added to that as well, because I've also heard that from the departments that they would like to see the vendors associated with the contract so that they can do a quick control F if needed. And then we also have a new kind of generic email for the statewide teams. It's what I mentioned at the beginning, and you'll see it on the last slide, cpo.swc@tn.gov. Essentially, this needs to be used for all feedback, general questions, or just ideas you may have where we can improve. So accessing statewide contracts, there are several ways of going about it. Here are the 4 links, the first of which, local government, our CPO homepage. We have a statewide contract listing page, usage instructions, and then TN Smart Shop, which most of you are probably familiar with, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in just a second. So when you navigate to the CPO website, you'll see at the top there's a tab that says Procurement. When you click on local units of government, that's going to take you to the next slide. And if you notice in the top right, those are the 4 things that I just mentioned, such as usage, instructions, TN Smart Shop, and the listing of statewide contracts. There's also on the Supplier Portal, I don't know how many of you all are familiar with the Supplier Portal, but if you go to it in the middle, you'll see statewide contract search. If you are to click on that, it takes you to all of our statewide contracts. You see the number on the far left, the name in the middle, and on the far right, you'll see these little contract document folders. Essentially, if you click on one of those folders, it will populate a screen that has the contract documents and line items. Obviously, you click the folder underneath one of those to find out what it entails. So the contract documents is your attachments, such as your specifications, your terms and conditions, and any other applicable documents that go along with that contract. The next one is the line items that I was just referring to. So you can pull the line items for a specific contract whenever you're within that contract by just clicking on that, what looks like a little mini spreadsheet right above the line items. Now, on the Supplier Portal main web page, I had mentioned there was statewide contract search. Right underneath that is the Excel download, and essentially what that is all the line items for every statewide contract compiled into one spreadsheet. I think there's over 17,000 lines, but what some people have liked about it is just the ability to do a quick Control F, type in whatever it is they're looking for, and just see, okay, it's under this statewide contract. Because one of the things I've heard from the departments is that the way we go about naming the contracts doesn't always translate to what you're trying to buy within that contract. So it can be helpful to have just an entire listing of every line item and just be able to Control F, put in the word of whatever it is you're trying to buy and see if that matches with anything. And then you can find out what statewide contract that's under, pull that up, and then go through the motions from there. I really don't know why they put this slide on here, just full disclosure. It's how to find open procurements. And this is me just being 100. You can click on request for proposal opportunities and invitations to bid, but probably the 95% of those, if not all those, are going to be the department-related contracts that my team handles and that you all can't necessarily piggyback off of. However, if you want to peruse and see what kind of terms and conditions we have with our contracts or how we write up our specifications, you can find that there. Every once in a while, we do have our statewide contracts. They'll be on there too, but you're probably going to see 40 different solicitations up, and maybe only one of the 40 is a statewide contract. So we also have within that page active CPO procurement. So this kind of lets you know what we are actively procuring and what you can be aware for. So hopefully that you all can be a little bit more strategic. If you know we're going to have a contract in place in 3 months, you don't necessarily need to create your own 5-year contract for that. TN Smart Shop is a marketplace for procurement professionals, providing visibility, access, and utilization of goods and services from suppliers who have statewide contracts with the state of Tennessee. So registration is free to access. You just create your own. If you haven't done it, it's fairly simple. You're just putting in your information and then you have an ID that you can sign in with. And the beauty of this is a lot of our catalogs are held within TN Smart Shop. So think of it similar to like an Amazon. With the exception of on the side, you have your suppliers. You go to the next slide. You have your supplier tab. You can look at that, see what catalogs they have, and see their contact information pretty quick. And we also have the ability to compare products from one catalog to another. You can favorite products if you want, and you can also save your cart. So here's an example of the favorite products. You can go to the next slide, you're fine. And then the next one is saving cart. This would be a big deal if you're going in there once a month or once every 3 months and you're having to pull different items from different contracts. You don't want to have to do it every single time. So you can essentially, when you get to your finalized cart, if you know this is a cart that you're going to be making a reoccurring purchase on, just go ahead and save it. That way, when you come back into your account, you can pull up your saved carts, you can have it all right there and proceed with your purchase without having to search all over again. You can also check out to download a spreadsheet of your order that can be used to send as a purchase order to the contractor. This is a pretty new thing. I came to ETPA last year. I think we were across the street somewhere or within this general vicinity, and I talked about this coming down the pipe. It is now a reality. We essentially have, I believe it's 7 campaigns. The one that is really applicable to you all is the statewide campaign that you can subscribe for. And essentially, one of the things I heard from departments and from a lot of the locals was we're having to be extremely proactive to find out what's going on at CPO, whether that's sifting through your website to see if you have a contract for something or to see if the contract has been updated or canceled. That can take up a lot of your time. So we wanted to flip the script, and instead of making you all be proactive and having to attend meetings or sift through our website. Now you can be reactive by subscribing to this link right here. Oh, go back just for a second, sorry. This link right here at the top, which is that on ETPA's main website? I don't know if it is. If not, this PowerPoint will be, and you can use that link. But essentially what you can expect to see is we send them out monthly, and we outline the new contracts, the renewals extensions, updates to solicitations, newly created or updated usage instructions, emergency notifications, and collaboration opportunities for upcoming statewide contracts. So the monthly is kind of, you can expect to see most of that. The as needed is really for emergencies. So an example is a company tells us we're going bankrupt or there's a big issue with that contractor. Well, now we can immediately notify everyone, hey, you need to start doing something, as opposed to you all finding out through the vendor on the phone and going through that conversation of whether we still have a current contract or not. It can also be utilized to let you all know that, hey, we've expanded this contract and now we've added a bunch of new stuff to it. Some of the updates, specific ones that we've kind of tweaked some of our contracts over the last year, and they wanted me to make you all aware of. Statewide Contract 419 is the Mailroom equipment and supplies. In the past, this was just for finance leases. We now added operating leases. We heard a lot of feedback that that would be beneficial for several departments. I don't know if it would be for you all. They didn't necessarily want to own it. They just wanted to rent it. Facility fire security and life safety systems and products. So with this one, we pre-qualified several contractors and we've turned it into a continual compete in order to keep the pricing aggressive throughout the contract and not have just a fixed price. The pest control, this is now cannot exceed negotiated pricing matrix based off of square footage for the kitchens and type of coverage rather than the lines for each individual location. I think that came from the departments. That was kind of a sticking point for them, and apparently it makes them a lot easier to jump on the contract without having to go through a lengthy process of getting a specific location approved and added to that contract. The NASPA desktops, laptops, tablets, servers, and storage. Each listed manufacturer has a full catalog. In the past, we only had one manufacturer available for each product, but what we heard from a lot of people was we want options, obviously. So now we have their catalogs with all their options, and so you all can utilize that. The NASPA data communications, this replaced the confidential hardware contract, and this now has a full catalog for data communication equipment. So that's all they gave me. They told me specifically not to answer any questions since I'm on the sourcing team. No, I'm kidding. They really did want me to stress, hey, for any questions you have, feedback, please send it here. But I'm more than happy to try my best to answer some of the category-related questions. But before I do that, I do want to say that subscription tool, I really want to encourage each and every one of you to subscribe. I feel like when I first came to the state, a little over 5 years ago, I was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and I explained this story to Terry. I assumed, working in the central procurement office, we were the hub, and that we were in a war room with all of you all, with all of our statewide contracts, and we made sure that it met your all's needs and our needs, and we were Team TN. Well, I quickly found out that wasn't the case. So I'm trying my best to make that a reality. So that cpo.swc@tn.gov. We really want to hear your feedback. If you're not using our contracts, why is it? Is it because there's a cooperative that may be better than what we have that we should get on with? Is it because our pricing isn't good? We want to be able to really strengthen our relationship with the local community. And I think the only way that's going to happen is by having a two-way street in terms of communication. So we're trying our best to make that available to you all, so I hope everybody takes advantage of that. And you'll see within the subscription, we have sometimes, hey, we're working on these 3 types of contracts. If you want your input heard, please email us, please contact us. We can bring you in, we can hear your 2 cents and make sure that we accommodate your needs whenever we're creating those contracts. So I just want to really stress that. we value you all and the relationship we have, and we only want to make it stronger. So with that being said, does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I went to your procurement meeting last month.
The one-day seminar?
Yeah, that was great. I started using the Smart Shop.
Okay.
And my question is everything that's on the big spreadsheet for the state contracts, are those is that all inclusive with the Smart Shop, or is there only some things that are?
I think that's only some. That's my understanding. That you can
It
feel.
makes it really easy to find stuff, because like
Sure.
I was looking for postage meters a while back, but they were called something else. Like they were called postage meters, so I couldn't find them, but then it was like digital mailing services is what it was under.
Yeah, the naming convention can be a little tricky. However, I will say that I heard you all to reach out to those contacts, especially the CPO, SWC. That's a new generic email contact that we've added. I believe it's just the majority, but I'm not 100%. And also, while we're on that note, if you all are noticing issues, whether it's with our statewide contract listing or with PN Smart Shop, or you're having some kind of user error, or maybe it's our error, please send emails to this, because if you're having issues, you're probably not the only one, and we want to do our best to correct those as quickly as possible.
So in your opening video, there was mention of training that I assume is for the departments of the state of Tennessee.
That is correct.
What would you think about offering training to local governments, not just about statewide contracts, but about procurement in general? As a model, I'm thinking about the Tennessee Government Finance Association works with the state to have a certificate of some kind. Just planting an idea. Haven't talked to anybody about it.
I love it, and I
may like it in the room.
Right? No, I like it. If you want to know my personal thoughts on it, I think that's a great idea. And like I said, I strongly encourage you. You had a couple great suggestions, so please make those known through that, because our director is the one. His admin is monitoring this, but it's the statewide director who she reports all this feedback to. So now he has the ability to hear all these great ideas. But I think that's a fantastic idea, and I think our learning and development team would jump all over that. They're now looking to take a lot of our training, as opposed to in class. They're trying to do more online training, whether that's actually going through an online course or just watching a video. So I think that is some low-hanging fruit that they should definitely take advantage of.
I've got another one.
Yeah, sure.
At the one-day seminar last month, there was a breakout session where I heard talk about service level agreements that your department establishes with the other departments of the state of Tennessee.
Yep.
Could you talk about service level agreements a little bit? What caused you to want to establish them? How have they been received by your client departments?
So that's a great question. One of the main drivers behind that was by having service level agreements tied to a lot of the work we do for the departments. It gives them an idea of the average time associated with getting something done. So what was critical about that is the fact that if they have an idea of how long each step takes or should take average via the service level agreements, it allows them to plan accordingly. So it was a kind of a help us help you. And that was one of the big drivers behind it, by showing them, hey, it's going to take this long on average to do these types of things. It allows them to plan a little bit more efficiently and allows us to kind of drive those conversations, especially in terms of being realistic with expectations with some of the stuff that comes through our office. So it was to help them and kind of help ourselves. We, in all honesty, exceed a lot of the SLAs we have established. I think they initially inflated them, and we do plan on revisiting them in the near future. Yeah, that was the main driver behind it, was really so that people could plan a little bit better.
I just wonder if, by show of hands, are any local governments using service level agreements with your client departments?
Can we define it?
Yeah, so a service level agreement, there's several examples. It's for the different types of stuff we do. So whether that's getting a requisition approved to go into an event, how long an ITB takes, an RFP, RFQ. We have a list of different things we do for the departments. And so we tried our best to, fortunately, we use a system called Edison, which captures a lot of that data in terms of how long it's taking us to go from point A to point B. So whenever we were able to extrapolate that data, we were able to figure out like kind of the average, and then we're able to tell those people for all the types of needs you have, these different types of needs. I mean, we didn't identify everything as a service level agreement because that would just not necessarily be feasible, but for the main things, such as all of our procurement methods have a service level agreement behind it that essentially lets people know how long it's going to take us to complete something.
That seems like a best practice. I would be really interested in seeing if local governments could start utilizing that concept. We try to think of the departments we support as our clients.
Right.
Seems like a service level agreement would put that down in writing.
Oh, definitely. And what we actually just completed was what we call service partnership agreements with each department. And essentially what we're doing is we're meeting with them. Some ask to meet quarterly, some ask to meet semi-annually, some ask to meet just once a year to see exactly how we're living up to these SLAs. And so a lot of it is metric driven, but we can show them, hey, for all these different SLAs, we're meeting these 98% of the time or 96% of the time. And that really paints the picture for those departments in terms of measurable how successful we're being.
So is this based by commodity or service, or is it based by solicitation? How are you?
There's a lot of different SLAs we have, even from how long it takes us to handle a protest. So it could be procurement methods. Some of it is stuff that takes place before a procurement is established, such as like an agency will build a requisition in the system. And essentially they push that requisition, and when it gets to us, we have to approve said requisition, but we have to make sure it has all the applicable documentation. So after we approve it, we have an SLA that's in place that says, hey, within 2 business days, you can expect we will have approved your requisition, or you will hear back from us regarding what the errors are and what needs to be addressed. After that requisition is approved, we have an SLA that says within 3 business days, we will have the solicitation file up and ready and posted. So and then we have SLA tied to how long that solicitation should take from the second it's posted to the time it's awarded. So it's not necessarily, I would say, commodity versus, it's the process of what we do, and we kind of parsed it out in the different phases.
Did they think it helped them plan? I mean, or did it help?
Well, we just went into effect this year, so I'll answer that question next year. We hope it will. Ideally, you know, in government, though, the reality is that sometimes, especially with administration change coming up, we're going to see a lot of new initiatives. Sometimes you have a grant and money has to be spent by a certain day. So there are some outliers where, hey, it's got to get done and it's got to get done fast. And the department can't necessarily plan accordingly. It's just, it's here and we got to do something about it. But for those that they know are on the horizon or for re-procurements, we expect the SLAs to help them out a lot.
Because all of ours were needed yesterday.
Oh, that is, yeah, I can relate to that. Having been on the sourcing team, I used to be a buyer on sourcing for, you know, Department of Safety I had for a little bit, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, TennCare, Tennessee Financial Institution, Attorney General, and I will say they were all very different, but in one way they were the same, was they needed it yesterday. So I can totally relate to that. Okay, well, I appreciate you all having me. Thanks again.
Thank you.